Hello, beautiful internet family. My name is Dan Davis, and I'm the creative director here at DansTube.TV, as well as the Fearless Drone Academy, which is the ultimate online drone course for beginners. And today I've got another epic comparison between the DJI Air 2S and the DJI Mavic 3 Classic. Looking at these two drones, you can see that they've got a different size, a different build, and a different design, but they both do share some similarities, and they're both phenomenal drones in their own right. Firstly, when it comes to price, if we're looking at the Mavic 3 Classic in the combo that includes the DJI RC, this will set you back 2,599 Australian dollars, and it is just for the basic kit with the one battery, the few extra accessories that you get, and that's $2,599 through the D1 store. And now if we look at the DJI Air 2S, this will set you back 1,699 Australian dollars through the D1 store. And that is for the Air 2S, the one battery, the few accessories you get, and then this default controller here. You can also get the DJI RC now for the Air 2S. I'm glad that that's now a compatible option. So if you do want, you can get this drone with this controller. But if you just want the default, which is these two here, that will set you back $1,699. So if we're to compare the camera systems of these two drones, let's look at the Mavic 3 Classic first. You can see once I reveal that gorgeous camera system there, we have a 4/3" Hasselblad camera system. Now this is a beautiful camera system, probably the best camera system I've ever used in a drone, and to have that larger sensor, a 4/3" sensor, definitely makes a big difference here. The Mavic 3 Classic is capable of capturing 5.1K video up to 50 frames per second. You can also capture 4K up to 120 frames per second in the slow-mo settings. And if you're just using 4K as the normal video mode without slow motion, then it's 4K up to 60 frames per second. And now if we look at the Air 2S, this is a slightly smaller camera system, but still a very impressive camera system, especially for a drone of this size. This is a 1-inch CMOS sensor here, such an impressive camera system. And amazingly enough, it's actually capable of capturing 5.4K video. So on paper, it sounds better than the Mavic 3 Classic, but we'll get into that a little bit later. It can actually capture 5.4K up to 30 frames per second, and then 4K up to 60 frames per second. The Air 2S is also capable of capturing 1080p video up to 120 frames per second. So you do get some slow-mo option here, but with the Mavic 3 Classic, you can go 4K up to 120 frames per second. So just quickly going back to that point I made before, 5.4K on the Air 2S, the cheaper drone, and 5.1K on the more expensive, larger drone. But it comes down to the camera size, it comes down to that Hasselblad science and a few of the other things that you're getting in the Mavic 3 Classic that make it better. So even on paper, you know, the Air 2S sounds better. It can only go up to 30 frames per second, where the Mavic 3 Classic can go up to 50 frames per second, has that larger sensor, and it also has adjustable aperture, so you can really get the most out of the image. With that adjustable aperture, the Mavic 3 Classic is capable of going from f2.8 to f11, so you're getting a lot of freedom over the aperture, where the Air 2S is just fixed at f2.8. You also get slightly better dynamic range from the beefier Mavic 3 Classic here, so you get 12.8 stops of dynamic range, and the Air 2S is 12.6 stops of dynamic range. They're both capable of capturing 20 megapixel still photos, and they both have RAW capabilities, but with the Mavic 3 Classic, you're getting that 12-bit RAW processing, so you're getting just a little bit better quality again, and for the professionals out there, you're gonna prefer that over the Air 2S. Moving on to some of the other pro features of these two drones, because they both are pro drones in their own right. They can both capture D-Log as well as HLG color profiles. So with the D-Log, very flat color profile, and they can both capture 10-bit, so very impressive on both of them. And the Air 2S can keep up in the sense that it's got the D-Log as well as the HLG color profiles. But with the Mavic 3 Classic, you're getting the color science from Hasselblad and a system, like a camera system, that has been designed in-house from Hasselblad. So that's where you're getting, a little bit more of an improvement, as well as having a larger sensor so it can allow in more light, and having the adjustable aperture then takes your photos and videos to the next level. Before we move on with this video, if you are interested in either the Air 2S or the Mavic 3 Classic, I do have some exclusive bundles over on the D1 store. So I'll have that link below to check out the exclusive DansTube bundles over there. And if you do want something a bit more specific or unique for your needs, then reach out to the D1 store at sales@d1store.com.au, mention DansTube, and that will unlock the special pricing. And then you can talk to them about exactly what it is that you want, and they can help you out with that. So when we talk about battery life, the Mavic 3 Classic has a very impressive battery life. The battery system itself is quite hefty, it's large, it weighs a fair bit, but you're getting 46 minutes of flight time from this unit. So if flight time and flight performance is the most important thing to you, then the Mavic 3 Classic definitely shines here. The Air 2S still has a very impressive battery life. You're getting 31 minutes. You can see the battery's a lot smaller here, and the unit obviously weighs a lot less, which I'll talk about soon. But 31 minutes from the Air 2S and 46 minutes from the Mavic 3 Classic. Realistically, you're never getting that much flight time, but still very amazing to see that the Mavic 3 Classic is capable of such lengthy flight performance. Like, just insane to me that you can get 46 minutes from this drone here, as opposed to the 31 from the Air 2S. When we talk about weight now, the Air 2S actually weighs 595 grams. So a relatively lightweight drone, considering like when you fold it out, it's, well designed, a sturdy kind of chassis on it, and it just feels like a solid drone. If you compare it to some of the mini drones that feel a little bit more plasticky, a little bit cheaper, this drone here, the Air 2S, just feels like a sturdy drone. But then when we go to the Mavic 3 Classic, it weighs a little bit more again, it's 895 grams. You can see its footprint is a lot larger than the Air 2S. So when we kind of put them together, you can see that the Mavic 3 Classic just has a wider wingspan, larger body, nothing majorly different here, but this does weigh more and it's more menacing, and definitely like a perception. If we're going to look at these two, this looks like the more powerful, more like pro drone, I guess, if you're going to take it to some paid gigs. This is still an amazing drone and still looks like a professional drone, but just based on looks and perception of a lot of people who don't know anything about drones, this is just going to look like the beefier drone, and it does weigh obviously a little bit more, so that's something to keep in mind if you want a drone that's going to handle better in high winds. Talking about wind performance, the Mavic 3 Classic is capable of flying in winds of up to 12 meters per second, so some crazy wind conditions, and this guy can really just do whatever you want it to do. It can handle pretty much everything you throw at it, so that's where that weight and size and just the build quality of it really comes in clutch, because you're getting a drone that can handle some insane wind conditions. Now that doesn't mean that the Air 2S can't handle wind conditions, because it can still handle wind speeds of up to 10.7 meters per second. So still extremely impressive and can handle pretty much everything you throw at it, but the Mavic 3 Classic can handle just a little bit more. That doesn't mean that this drone can't fly in high winds by any means, because I've put this through its paces and it can handle really everything you throw at it. If there's like gale force winds and it's ridiculous outside, you should just know intuitively that you don't need to fly your drone in that kind of condition, but pretty much any other wind condition and either drone is going to be able to handle it. When it comes to flight performance of the two drones, they're both phenomenal. I'll say that they do perform amazingly well regardless of what you chuck at them. Obviously the Mavic 3 Classic has the better wind rating, and because of its build quality and its size and presence in the air, I would say that it flies just a little better. I mean, it's nothing major that you would go, this isn't worth it. But I would say this slightly has the edge, the Mavic 3 Classic. Still, they both perform amazingly well and are extremely responsive to all inputs, and no matter what you throw at them, they'll both handle the wind condition and the flight performance. When we talk now about the range from both drones, we've got the DJI RC, which comes with the Mavic 3 Classic, and then the standard controller that comes with the Air 2S. Like I said, you can now get this controller with the Air 2S, but this controller on the Mavic 3 Classic is capable of Ocusync 3 Plus, and you're getting 15 kilometers of range out of the Mavic 3 Classic. And then this controller here is capable of Ocusync 3, so it's just a step back. It's not the 3 Plus, it's Ocusync 3, and it's capable of 12 kilometers of range. So both extremely impressive, and you're not going to need more than 12 kilometers of range. So Both of them are great in any situation, but if range is really important to you and you're worried about interference, then you might want to get that extra bump and get Ocusync 3 Plus on the Mavic 3 Classic. Now this is really interesting to me where some of the differences change here and where you can really see the Mavic 3 Classic standing out on its own. So talking about the obstacle avoidance, this drone here, the Mavic 3 Classic, has omnidirectional obstacle avoidance. So it's got 2 avoidance sensors at the front, it's got 2 at the rear, 2 facing up, and 2 facing down. But because of how they're designed with more of a fisheye look, they're actually capable of seeing the sides as well. So that means that it's omnidirectional, meaning it can avoid anything that's thrown at it. In any direction, this drone can see it. Where we look at the Air 2S, for example, and this has 4-way directional avoidance. So it still does have the 8 sensors, just like the Mavic 3 Classic, 2 at the front, 2 facing up, 2 at the back, and then 2 facing down. It doesn't have the side sensors though, so it means that it can't actually sense anything off to the side. I do find that it occasionally does all right though, because of the way that the sensors are positioned. It can still see a few things to the side, but the Mavic 3 Classic is where it really stands out because you're getting full omnidirectional obstacle avoidance. So when we're talking about active track and APAS, the Mavic 3 Classic has both active track and APAS of 5.0, so their latest technology, and the Air 2S has active track 4.0 and APAS 4.0. So we're talking about like when the drone is tracking you and when it's trying to avoid obstacles, the Mavic 3 Classic has the edge here. It has more ability to be able to see what's happening because of the additional like field of view from the obstacle avoidance. So it can actually see everything that's going on, where like I said, this is limited to not be able to see the side, so it can't sense anything off to the side. So in terms of active track in a close area, the Mavic 3 Classic definitely stands out here. But from all the tests I've done with the Air 2S, it's still an incredible drone that can track you in really any environment. So they're both amazing, but I would say the Mavic 3 Classic has the edge here. When we talk about the features that the two drones have though, the Air 2S definitely does keep up here. We have master shots mode, which were introduced on the Air 2S. We have hyperlapse modes, we have all the quick shot modes and all the photo options as well. So it's not like you're missing too much with the Air 2S here. There are a few things that the Mavic 3 Classic has which are exclusive, but the bulk of the features are similar on both offerings here. So if you do want to save some money, and if you think everything that the Air 2S has to offer is great, then you're probably going to be really happy with it. It's still one of the best drones on the market, especially for its price point. And the amount of people that tell me in the comments how good this drone is and how they're not going to upgrade for a while, it's just overwhelming. So this is an amazing drone that they've created, and it's a hard drone to dethrone. I would say the Air 2S is still one of the best drones out there. But as you've probably figured out from this video, the Mavic 3 Classic just improves on everything that the Air 2S has to offer. So, you know, all those little things that do make a major difference, like the additional obstacle avoidance, like the fact that it can see everywhere, the fact that the camera system is larger, that it has adjustable aperture, you know, the fact that we've actually got a better wind resistance, better battery life, like everything has been improved on here. And the Mavic 3 Classic is clearly the winner, but it's also the more expensive drone. On top of that, the Mavic 3 Classic has a few unique features. So it does have cruise control, similar to when you're in your car and you press cruise control, and it will lock that speed that you're driving at. You can do the same thing here with the Mavic 3 Classic. It works in the video modes and the hyperlapse modes. So that's a really cool offering. And it also has a unique night mode. And because of that adjustable aperture and the fact that the sensor is larger, it does an amazing job of capturing low light. And again, that's where it does have the edge again over the Air 2S. When we look at these two drones, they are still phenomenal in their own right. And regardless of what you're going to get, you're going to be happy with it. I think it comes down to your budget, what you're going to use the drone for, and if you need a feature over the other drone. So for example, if battery life is crucial to you, then maybe you want that extra battery life on the Mavic 3. Maybe you do want to save some money, so you're going to get the Air 2S. You know, maybe the larger sensor is really important to you on the Mavic 3 Classic. It just really depends what your needs are. And hopefully this video has shone some light on like what the differences are and how they compare side by side. Both phenomenal drones, and you're going to be happy with whatever you get. So I hope this video helped, and I will chat to you in the next one. Peace.
Pain all around, is it worth it? I can't touch the ground, is it hopeless? I'm still lost.